In this workshop, I'll show you how to create a temporary setting for any object using polymer clay, and then we'll make a mold. Start with an interesting object that you'd like to capture in metal clay. These are pieces that I made from silver clay. Roll a snake of polymer clay that's about the same length and width of the piece that you'd like to make a model of. And then just press the piece into the clay. I can control how much squishes out in what direction by which way I push it. My finished piece will look exactly like this model, so I want to make sure that I get it exactly the way that I want it to look. And I want these pieces to be fairly equal because these will be earrings. So I'm going to pay attention to that, and I've left some space at the top so that I can drill a hole later. Now I'll make a mold of these two pieces. I'm using a product called Mega Mold. This is a two-part silicone mold material. I get equal parts and mix them together until they're one color. And then I just make a little ball and sort of pat it over the top and tuck it in around all the edges. Make sure I've got a nice clean impression. And then I let these sit for 5 minutes. To check them, I press my fingernail in. If it springs back, it's ready. If it makes a dent, it needs to sit a little longer. And now I've got a nice clean mold. Now I can fill the molds with bronze clay. I'm going to take 2 little pieces and just pack this into the mold. Because the mold is not flat on the bottom, it's easier for me to hold it in my hands and then just press the clay in. And then I'll let this dry. Bronze clay distorts if you heat it to dry it, so I either dry it in the refrigerator or the freezer. Once they're dry, I can pop them out and mark a spot where I want to drill my hole, and then drill with a 1.5 millimeter drill to account for the shrinkage. Then I can sand and finish the edges if they need it. Now these pieces have been fired and they're ready for finishing. I'm going to apply accent silver to the center portion. The first thing I need to do is put a satin finish on the pieces. Bronze is a very hard metal, so I'm using an aggressive 36 grit bristle disc. The next step is to heat the metal up to oxidize it. And I use this oxidation as a mask to keep the accent silver from spreading to areas where I don't want it. So I mount the pieces using beeswax on an acrylic disc. Then I use an abrasive to remove the oxidation from the areas that I want to apply the accent silver to. Then apply the accent silver and fire it. After firing, I clean it up with a stainless steel brush, and then clean up the details with a stainless steel pen style brush, and then I can polish it up. I'm using a Superflex green polisher. This is a wheel shape. To get into the details, I'm using a flame shape Superflex polisher. Right now the bronze has a satin finish, and I'm giving a nice polish to the accented portion of the earring. But I'd like to add a little bit of color to this for a little bit more contrast. So I'm going to heat the metal up with a flame to oxidize it slightly until I get a beautiful red color. And then I can simply repolish the high areas.